Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about why your Instagram marketing strategy might not be working. Now, okay, I had a bit of inspiration behind this content idea, right? So one place where I got inspiration from this idea from is all of the work that I've been doing with clients for the past like 6 months to a year, where I've really been helping them elevate their Instagram marketing by providing and coach them through a process of creating a strategy, like an actual strategy for their Instagram marketing, right? So through that process, I picked up on so many common mistakes that people are making with their Instagram marketing, which is directly impacting whether or not they're able to leverage Instagram to actually make money and make sales and, you know, convert clients and all that stuff. The other place of inspiration was actually my course that I'm creating, which if you're watching this now, it might be live. Never know when anyone's going to be watching this. If it's right this second, it might be live. There's going to be a link in my description if you want to check it out. But it's basically my signature Instagram marketing course, which is targeted at anyone who is a business owner, product or service based, who wants to learn how to leverage Instagram to actually grow their business. And the process of doing that and doing all my market research and all my testing and all that, I just noticed again so many glaring mistakes that people are making, and I thought this is a YouTube idea. So here we are today. That is going to be the content of today's video. If you are interested, then please stick around. Okay, the number one mistake that I'm seeing people make, by far this is the biggest mistake. And it's actually quite a difficult one to explain without having like course materials, like a PowerPoint presentation and stuff, but I'm going to give it a go. So this mistake is that you are focusing on tactics rather than your strategy. Now, you're probably thinking, I don't get it, what's the difference, right? There is quite a huge difference between strategy and tactics, but they're both related to each other. If you think of it at the top, your strategy is quite literally how you plan to achieve a goal. So if you think of it this way, right? Your strategy sits at the top of everything and it should literally guide everything that you do on your Instagram channel, right? And your strategy is going to involve things like analyzing your audience, coming up with your value offering, like coming up with your content pillars, you know, coming up with your correct way of planning all your content at the right time and all of that really good strategic stuff. That is what your strategy is made up of. Now, when you do all of that properly, what happens is that you have an Instagram page which is very impactful and effective. You're sharing the right content for your audience, you're using the right messaging for your audience, you're even down to granular things like you're selling at the right times, you're encouraging your community at the right times, you're using the right features for the right type of messaging. Like obviously there's so much to it, I could literally talk about it for ages, but there's a lot what goes into that strategy section, and the result is that your content and your page is like in tip-top shape. It is super curated and it is being developed specifically for your audience. So you know that if and when your audience sees your content, they will respond positively to it, right? Now, once you've done all of that section and your strategy is nailed, that's when you're supposed to do your tactics. And your tactics are things like engagement routines or things like going live with people, all that good stuff. A lot of tactics what I share on this channel, and a lot of tactics that you'll see being shared around for free on like blogs or on Instagram channels. A lot of that content that you see almost exclusively are tactics. Anything what's like a growth hack, that's a tactic, right? And they're so good at giving you immediate results. But what a lot of people don't realize is that you're never going to get long-term results from your tactics if your strategy isn't in place. So if we use an example, right? So say you watch this video, I'll link it up here, and it's all about my engagement routine. So in that video, I'm telling you, this is how I engage with people every day for 20 minutes, and it helps improve my engagement rate. Now, you might copy all of those steps and see a small improvement in your engagement rate and think, oh, great. But, you know, I kind of was hoping that maybe a few people who engage with me would buy from me, or it would lead to something more than that. The reason why it didn't is because you don't have the strategy in place to actually turn those people who are now engaging with your content into buyers. Like there's more what goes into it. But also some people might follow those steps and be like, oh, it didn't really do much. I didn't get any engagement back. The reason why is because the content that you're producing isn't strategic, and therefore it's not designed to speak to the right people. So you might be engaging with someone, they go to your page to engage with you back, but then they're like, I don't really get what your page is about. I don't really understand what value you're offering me. And they end up not engaging. And you think it's because the tactic doesn't work, but actually it's because you don't have a strategy. So I really hope that makes sense. Tell me if it doesn't. I'll try and explain it again in another video, but that is the biggest pitfall that I see people fall under, and I've always been meaning to explain it properly in a video because I've always thought I wish I could it's difficult to even explain over DM, but that is usually the biggest reason why your Instagram strategy isn't working. The second reason why your Instagram marketing strategy might not be working is because you're not using the right tools. So some people, there's actually a myth around this. some people believe that you should only really be running your Instagram via Instagram, right? And there's a myth what says that if you use any third-party tool, Instagram's gonna penalize you for it. Now, where that myth came from is from a good place. So it's not all false. Basically, if you use an app which has not been approved by Instagram, or which tries to do dodgy things with Instagram and breaks their community guidelines, that's when you're going to get penalized. So if you're using an app which allows you to unfollow people at mass, or you're using an app which allows you to remove followers at scale, usually anything which is allowing you to do things quicker than you naturally should be doing, and anything which is either breaking their guidelines or which is towing the line of breaking their guidelines, that kind of stuff and those kind of third-party apps are going to hurt you when it comes to how you're seen in Instagram's books. Basically, you're going to be on their naughty list and they're just not going to be very happy with you, right? So that part is still true. However, there are several apps which are approved by Instagram. There are several apps which actually do this thing where I think it's called sharing their API, not to get super technical, but what it basically means is that Instagram has allowed certain apps to actually tap into their features. So an app which is a good example and who's actually sponsored this video is AGORAPULSE. Now, AGORAPULSE is a system that I've recently started to use, which allows me to do several things, but the most valuable thing for me is to really stay on top of my Instagram account. So if you're someone who gets not even a lot of DMs, just any DMs, and therefore struggles to kind of organize them and keep them in a really nice streamlined place, then this is going to be a really, really effective app for you, right? So I'll show you a quick walkthrough now so you can see what the back end looks like. But you can basically connect your Instagram account so that you can pull through things like comments and direct messages, and you can respond to them on the platform. You can even do things like assign some DMs to specific team members. So if you have a team member who is responsible for customer service and another one who's responsible for sales, then you can actually assign them direct messages so that they're only responding to the right messages which are relevant to their role. So that's just a small example of how I currently use it. But there are so many other things that it has available. There's things like a listening tool where you can literally hone in on specific hashtags and specific topics that you want to be following so that you're consistently getting updated on the different content that's being shared about that topic. So that's super useful when it comes to your marketing strategy, because it allows you to always be in the know when it comes to anything what's being shared about your industry. There's also a really useful tool called a publishing calendar, which, as you can imagine, does what it says on the tin. It allows you to schedule your content and publish it. And one of my favorite parts is that it has a section called fans and followers. So you can literally see who is engaging with your content the most, and you can purposely engage with those people back. I have a theory that I've spoken about in so many of my videos, but you may not have seen them because I realize I have quite a lot of videos now. And it's a theory that we all have a group of people who follow our Instagram accounts who are our advocates. So they are people who absolutely love the content we create. Whenever we post, they're the first person to comment, they share our content, and they are the most valuable people in our entire Instagram audience, because they're the ones who are going to share our content and really drive word of mouth of your business and your brand, right? So this tool actually allows you to really easily see who those people are, which is in turn going to make it so much easier for you to reciprocate all of this amazing engagement they're giving you and visit their profile and engage with them back. And that's just going to make your relationship with these people so much stronger. Of course, another element of AGORAPULSE, which is absolutely fundamental when it comes to you and your Instagram marketing strategy, is their analytics feature. So this feature quite literally allows you to analyze all of your content and draw conclusions as to what's performing well and what isn't. And that is such a key part of having a good Instagram marketing strategy. You've got to be really tuned in to your content and your audience and know what they're responding well to. It's not one of those things where you just come up with something once and you're like, yeah, nailed it, it's great, especially if you don't have any experience in creating an Instagram marketing strategy. You've got to test a lot of things, you've got to work out a lot of stuff, and you've got to keep an eye on your analytics to allow you to continuously improve on the different work that you're doing. So as I mentioned, one of the big mistakes that I see people making when it comes to their Instagram marketing strategy is just they're not using the right tools, or they're not using any additional tools in general. And these tools really are the difference between you not only running a page really smoothly and having great customer service and all of that, but also you actually enhancing your page because you've got access to so many additional features, things like your analytics and your fans and your favorites and all of those amazing features. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, I don't have a good tool, I've not looked into this yet, I'm going to put a link to AGORAPULSE in my description so you can definitely have a look at their service and their platform, because I think it's amazing. So another mistake that I'm seeing people make with their Instagram marketing strategy is that their messaging is off. And what I mean by that is quite literally anything that you are saying or any message that you're delivering to your Instagram audience just isn't hitting the mark. There's a few reasons for this. The main one is that you've not taken the time to properly analyze your audience and to really come up with a good audience profile, which is something that I teach inside my course, Next Level IG Academy, where I basically share my exact method for breaking down your audience and getting to the point where you understand not only who they are, where they live and all of that basic stuff, but you actually understand how they interact with Instagram as a platform, and therefore you're able to create content which they respond well to. Another element of your messaging being off is not knowing how to sell to your audience. And this is a really unique thing as well, something else I also teach. But sometimes people make the mistake of selling too much, or the language that they're using to sell is too pushy. And what ends up happening when you fall into this trap is that you deter your audience and they start to feel like they are just a means to an end, right? They just feel like, well, I'm only here because you want me to buy stuff from you. And the second your audience feels like that, that's the second you lose them. So another big mistake that you potentially are making is just not getting your messaging correct and therefore just not speaking your audience's language. Another mistake that I see people make is that they're not adapting their content to Instagram's different features. Now, okay, I know how difficult it is to keep up to date with Instagram's features. I get it. But you have to make a habit to try and stay up to date or have some kind of resource which is giving you up to date information, because each of Instagram's features have a different purpose. So it's not good enough to come up with a content idea and think, great, I'm going to put this on my stories, on my reels, on my feed. It doesn't work like that. Each of Instagram's features has a specific purpose, and because they have their own purpose, they require their own specific type of content. And if you don't match those two things up correctly, you're going to end up seeing that a lot of your content falls flat on its face. I realize that as I'm saying this, I'm like, oh, this might be confusing you in any way. I actually do have a video where I talk about the different features on Instagram and I give like an introduction to each, right? So if I'm confusing you in this video, then I recommend watching that one because it's going to give you a bit more information. But if you're really, really keen to actually understand how each of these features work and also specifically what content to create for each, then again, I do recommend that you check out my program and my course. The link is in the description because that is going to give you literally like the framework, the step-by-step, everything you need to know. The final mistake that you are potentially making, right, is that you're copying someone else's strategy. And I have an inkling that this is quite a common one, because what might happen is maybe you find someone online and you think, oh, they're great, they're similar to me and they're achieving what I want to achieve. And maybe you're copying their strategy in the sense that you have analyzed what they're doing and you're trying to do something similar. Or maybe it's that like they have shared what their strategy is and then you've listened to that and thought, oh, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, the issue with this is that everyone is different. Everyone's brand is different. Everyone's goals are different. And by copying someone else's strategy, you're basically ignoring the uniqueness of your brand and also the uniqueness of your customers. You can't always assume that just because someone has a similar brand to yours, that they're trying to achieve the same thing as you, and they're trying to talk to the same people that you're trying to talk to, right? So you're probably thinking, okay, cool, what am I supposed to do with this information? What you need to do with this information is to seek out resources which are going to allow you to come up with your own Instagram marketing strategy. Like, there are things out there, there are programs, there are courses. I don't want to say mine again. You don't have to buy mine, but there are courses and there are programs which exist out there which quite literally guide you through the process of creating your own Instagram marketing strategy from scratch, which is specific to you and your goals and your brand. Don't go for any resources which are just going to say, this is my strategy, you should do the same thing. You want to go for the ones which are going to guide you through the process, right? And you might be thinking, that sounds really long, I don't really know if I could be bothered. But in all honesty, that is the only way for you to get to a point where you are really driving significant sales and growing your brand through Instagram, is to go through that process and get to a point where you've got a really solid strategy in place. So that's the end of this video. I'm hoping that it helped you diagnose potentially why your Instagram marketing strategy isn't working, because that is honestly the hardest part. Once you know what mistakes you're making, it becomes a lot easier for you to fix them, right? So as always, thank you so much for watching this video. If you found this useful, I recommend checking out this one. It's all about my top tips for how you can market your brand on Instagram this year. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video.